So, let's talk about Melissa Urban's The Book of Boundaries. And look, this is so much more than just another self-help guide. It's really a heartfelt invitation to reclaim your time, your energy, and your emotional sovereignty. I mean, with over 130 scripts and a ton of compassionate insights, Urban teaches us the art of setting limits in, well, every single part of our lives. So let's dive into her key lessons and explore the examples and prompts that make this book so incredibly powerful. All right, we're going to kick things off with Chapter 1, which frames boundaries as essential acts of self-love. You know, Melissa opens by getting us to completely reimagine what boundaries are. They're not these defensive walls we put up, but more like compassionate gates. She reminds us that saying no is really an act of self-respect, not a form of rejection. And through this, you learn how to distinguish between doing something out of guilt versus making a clear, conscious choice. Urban shares this really powerful story about a client of hers who felt totally trapped by family obligations, until she realized her yeses were just hollow. So she started practicing small no's, like just reserving her evenings for herself, and she rebuilt her sense of agency one boundary at a time. So, the key takeaway here: boundaries are basically invitations to authenticity. When you honor your own limits, you're actually teaching other people how to honor you too. Okay, next up. Chapter 2 is where things get super practical. It's like a masterclass in the linguistics of limits, or to put it simply, the art of saying no. So Urban gives us this brilliant framework, categorizing her scripts into 3 tones. First up, you've got green. This is the gentle one, the one that aims to preserve the relationship. Then you have yellow, which is firm but still totally respectful. And finally, red, for when you absolutely need to draw an unambiguous line in the sand.
I appreciate the invite, but I'm booked up today. Rain check?
I'm not comfortable discussing that topic right now. I need you to stop calling after 9 p.m. or I will turn my phone off. And she illustrates each of these with really relatable real-life scenarios. We're talking turning down extra work at 5:30 p.m., declining unsolicited advice from in-laws, and setting phone-free zones at home. The whole point is that you're encouraged to customize the tone and the words until they feel genuinely like you.
What this all boils down to is this: the right words are what bridge the gap between your intention and your impact. The goal is to choose scripts that feel like you, not like you're just reading from some manual.
All right, let's talk about family. Because, let's be honest, family can be the absolute toughest arena for boundaries. Urban dives right into those common pitfalls that, well, we probably all recognize, right? Things like overbearing parents who demand daily check-ins, sibling rivalries that get passed off as just teasing, and of course, in-laws who are operating with some outdated expectations. She walks us through this scenario of a daughter learning to say, "I value our time together, but I need Sundays for rest." And it's amazing how that simple phrase can shift the family dynamic from resentment over to respect. Urban also gets into cultural nuances, like how to honor your elders while still preserving your own autonomy.
So just remember, setting boundaries with family isn't some act of rebellion. It's actually a roadmap to a healthier, more honest kind of love.
Now, when it comes to romance, Urban stresses that a deep connection actually thrives on clear limits. She tackles all the crucial topics, like how to negotiate your needs for both alone time and together time, how to manage emotional labor, and how to spot and address those subtle boundary violations, like gaslighting. Through a story about partners clashing over weekend plans, Urban shows how a simple statement like, "I need Sunday mornings for my creative work, how can we rearrange our schedule," can turn a conflict into a collaboration. And the insight here is just so profound. True intimacy actually celebrates autonomy. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the very heartbeat of mutual respect.
Friendships, we all know they ebb and flow, and Urban shows us exactly when we need to recalibrate.
This includes knowing how to handle those one-sided conversations, how to decline last-minute plans without feeling guilty about it, and, when it's necessary, how to gracefully exit a toxic friendship.
For example, Urban tells the story of someone dealing with a friend who demanded constant emotional labor. By using a simple, yellow-tone script like, "I'm happy to support you, but I also need space to recharge," they actually saved the friendship from silent damage. It just goes to show you, boundaries in a friendship can deepen connection, not disrupt it.
And then there's the workplace, which, let's face it, can be a total minefield of blurred boundaries. Urban gives us some really practical tools for things like preventing burnout by scheduling no meeting blocks, pushing back on scope creep by asking to reprioritize projects,
and handling toxic colleagues by keeping your communication strictly task-focused. She gives a great example of a project manager who used a simple autoresponder for after-hours emails just to protect their own time. It shows that being professional isn't about being passive. It's about setting boundaries to protect your passion from turning your job into a prison.
From there, Urban pivots inward and asks a really crucial question. How do you set limits with yourself? She introduces powerful practices like time blocking for your own projects, learning to say no to that negative self-talk, and doing a weekly boundary audit just to check your energy levels.
Through guided journaling prompts, like asking, "What drained me this week? Where can I say no?" she turns self-care into a mindful ritual. It's a reminder that your inner world deserves boundaries too. Because at the end of the day, self-care is the fundamental infrastructure of your well-being.
Okay, so setting boundaries is a victory, for sure. But sustaining them, well, that's a lifelong practice.
Here, Urban explores how to handle the inevitable pushback and emotional manipulation, how to cultivate self-compassion for when you feel guilty, and why it's so important to reassess your boundaries as your relationships naturally evolve over time.
She shares what she calls a resilience toolkit, things like accountability partners, reflective journaling, and monthly boundary check-ins. These rituals transform boundaries from one-off events into lifelong habits, and they prove that boundaries aren't battles to be won. They are rituals of respect that just deepen and strengthen over time.
To wrap things up, Melissa Urban leaves us with this incredibly empowering reminder. Boundaries are declarations of your values, not just lines of defense. They allow you to truly author your own life and to craft relationships built on clarity and mutual regard.
So I'll leave you with a final thought. A little challenge. Consider one domain, family, work, friendship, or even just with yourself, and choose just one boundary to set this week. Just one. And then notice the ripple effect it has on your confidence and your connections.